What's up, everybody? You guys made it just in the nick of crime. We're here for the end of day Diddy trial recap, and a lot has happened. The people who are on the stand have been on the stand today. I think are really pushing those building blocks for that RICO case, and we're going to talk about how that finished out and who is coming on the stand supposedly tomorrow. Because I feel like this next witness that's coming tomorrow is going to be a pretty big one, probably pretty damning. Kind of like Mia was, and we're going to talk about her here in a moment. Before we do, though, this is obviously, we know this is a Diddy broadcast, but I'm going to talk about, but it's also my show, and I can do what I want. I want to talk about these girls. Okay, I don't know if you've been following this. These three girls in the photo in order. If you're on TikTok, by the way, you can't see the photo. You have to jump over to YouTube. If anywhere else you're watching, you can. I do have some photos that you guys might want to see. Just so you know, and by the way, please hit the follow button if you don't already. But these little girls here are from Wenatchee, Washington. 5-year-old Olivia, 8-year-old Evelyn, 9-year-old Peyton. And they went missing on May 30th after a visitation with, or May 31st visitation with their dad. They didn't come back, and they were found today. I need to move this closer. Maybe that'll help with the sound. And they were found today. It was not a good outcome. All three of them. They found their bodies. And when I learned about this, I was actually on live. It was right after we finished the midday recap. And I had to go because, you know, when you cover this kind of stuff, you can get to a point where you compartmentalize it. And I'm pretty good at it, especially when it comes to the adult cases. When it comes to Diddy, I realize how horrific it was, but you can kind of put it in the perspective that it should be put in. When it comes to the kids' cases, I really struggle, especially when they're things like this, and especially when it's the dad. I have a little girl. She's 5 years old, same age as Olivia, the girl on the far left in the photo. And I look at my daughter, and I just don't know how, as a parent, you could ever possibly hear. Like my 5-year-old looks up at me with like eyes like I'm the greatest person in the world, and I know I'm not, but to her I am, and I just don't understand how a father could do this to his kids. And I'm going to show you this. I made this, and this next thing here, and this is on Instagram. It is on Facebook. You guys can go steal it. I encourage you to go steal it off my page, screenshot it, share it around. But I made a wanted poster. He is still at large. They found his truck, and they found, and I got a whole thing written up I'm going to do here in a second, but they found his truck, and they found him. They have not found him. And if anyone wants to know the backstory, I'll give it to you in a second. So please take the wanted poster. This is what he looks like. Please get it out there. Again, if you are watching this on TikTok, you cannot see it. You'll need to jump over to YouTube or Instagram, and you can steal it there. So we don't know. Well, it doesn't really matter. So here's what I can tell you. The man here, his name is Travis Decker, and he is accused of one of the most horrific crimes possibly imaginable. He murdered, allegedly, his 3 daughters, young daughters, in cold blood. And again, 5-year-old Olivia, 8-year-old Evelyn, and 9-year-old Peyton. They were near the Rock Island campground near Leavenworth, Washington, in the Wenatchee, Washington area. They went missing after a custodial agreement. He had visitation on May 31st. The girls were supposed to come back, and they didn't. Now, afterwards, they searched for him, and they ended up finding the bodies of these 3 little girls plus his truck, but he is still out there. Authorities have issued a warrant for his arrest for 3 counts of first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping. He is former military with extensive training. It is unknown whether he is currently armed, but regardless whether he is armed or not, he is still considered extremely dangerous. His training in the military is, again, extensive and should not be approached. He was last seen in the Wenatchee, Washington area, but could be on the move now, assuming he hasn't taken his own life. I cannot even begin to fathom the amount of horror these children endured at the hands of the person who was supposed to love and protect them. So please, again, I don't care about credit for the poster. I don't care about credit for anything. Take any of the information that I've put out there, take the poster, share it on your own socials, share it to Facebook, especially to people out in the Pacific Northwest, and let's just try to find him, okay? Like, just try to find him. That's what matters. That's what matters the most. Anyways, if you do spot him or his whereabouts, call 911 immediately, and I'll just say rest in peace to Olivia, Evelyn, and Peyton. They deserved so much better than that. Like I said, these cases, ones like this, kind of get me a little emotional. I struggle with the kids' cases being a dad myself. I just don't get it, and I'll put it this way: he needs to be found. I don't care whether he's breathing or not. I don't care if he was found breathing, and by the time police get there, he's no longer breathing. I don't care about any of that. He just needs to be found. So please, like I said, this is on Instagram. This poster I put on Instagram, Facebook, and Substack. Anywhere that you guys could go try to take and use, please feel free to do that. And with that said, I will transition to the Diddy trial. Okay. Sorry, guys. Like I said, those cases like that, there are some that really impact me, and this is one of those, and I just can't help it. And unfortunately, I'm really bad about hiding my emotions, so you just get what you get with me. So I'm gonna try to switch gears now, and talk about the Diddy trial. Now, the first thing I'm gonna talk about the person that's in the photo beside me that you guys see again on TikTok. You can't see it. Um, you can't see it, but this guy is a former escort. His name is Sean Deering. He was professionally known as Skylar. And the reason that he wasn't brought up in court today, but he did show up in the news today, um, because he has spoken out offering some new support in regard to Cassie's claims. He's now 37 years old. And he gave an interview to People magazine. So you can go, if you want to go read the whole article, it's on People. And he decided to do this after his name and his photo were made public during Ventura's time on the stand. Ventura testified that Skylar, or Sean Deering, with more than 10 male escorts that she was forced to hire through the website Cowboys for Angels for the freak offs. She broke down on the stand, if you guys remember, while recounting how she was coerced into these degrading and often filmed encounters, describing the event as humiliating and non-consensual. In his interview, Deering said that he had been hired for more than a dozen sessions with Cassie and Diddy after first meeting them in late 2014 or early 2015. He claimed that while he never witnessed Combs physically assault Cassie, he saw clear signs of psychological control and described her as being, quote, under Diddy's control during the parties. They need to get this guy on the stand. He said, quote, we did everything under his direction, adding that there was always a constant energy of knowing that we must perform for him or else. He described Ventura as acting like a drone during the encounter, saying that her demeanor would darken as the sessions progressed. That you could see it was kind of like the spirit was leaving her body. He recalled one occasion where Diddy left the room briefly and Deering tried to ask Cassie a question, only for her to respond, no, 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 not until he gets back. Now, he further claimed that there was an unspoken understanding that Cassie would face consequences if she failed to follow Diddy's instructions, though he admitted he did not know exactly what those consequences might have been. He expressed support for Cassie, calling her uplifting and genuine throughout the whole experience, and added, I want what's best for her. I want to respect her first and foremost. I want her respect first and foremost. Again, this very closely mimics or mirrors Cassie's testimony, where she told jurors that Combs would force her to take substances before these sessions to buffer herself against the trauma. The jury has also viewed surveillance footage of her showing Combs violently assaulting her during their relationship, and Ventura's description of the freak-offs as another method of control used to degrade and dominate her. So remember, defense is trying to paint these events and these encounters as consensual, and prosecution is trying to show no, 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 they are absolutely not. So somebody's saying something. I'll fact check that in a moment. Dan, are you in here real quick? Sorry, I'm going to pause real quick. Somebody's saying this. Dan, are you still in here? All right, guys, bear with me a second. And then I can message you directly. Okay. People are saying that the dad's body was found. Are you able to check on that for me and let me know in direct message DM if you have time? Like, I don't want to put something on your plate, but if that's the case, I want to make that update. Thank you, sir. I had a couple people. Somebody even posted an article. So yeah, if you can double check it for me and let me know, send me a source or whatever. Sorry, that's on the one we were talking about with the 3 little girls. If you missed what we were talking about with that, the post is on my Insta. It's the last post that I made at the time I'm recording this video. It's also on my Substack and it's on Facebook, so you can see kind of what we're talking about with a little bit of background. So, anyways, that being said, that's what they're kind of trying to do. So now, before testimony resumed after lunch, prosecutors raised an important. I'm gonna put this thing up here. Prosecutors raised an important concern regarding the protection of witnesses testifying under pseudonyms. They informed the judge that both a media outlet and an individual attending the trial revealed the true identity of Mia in their coverage. Mia is the pseudonym, by the way, for the last witness that was on for the last few days. Was used to shield the identity of one of Combs's former assistants. She previously testified about the abuse she endured while working for him. In response, the prosecution requested that the judge bar those individuals from the courtrooms for the remainder of the trial. They also asked the judge that the judge compel the media outlet to take down a social media post that discussed Mia's true identity. He said he would consider the request if it was filed formally in writing. He also suggested that the attorneys propose an instruction for the jury regarding Jane, which is another pseudonym, who is another one of the accusers who will begin scheduling, or who's scheduled to begin testifying under the pseudonym Jane starting tomorrow, Wednesday. So what happened a little bit back on that, there was a YouTuber that put her name out there and said everything, and then there was apparently now a media outlet. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on there. So following the recess, Derek Ferguson, who was the former chief financial officer, CFO for Diddy's record label Bad Boy Entertainment, returned to the witness stand. He worked for Diddy for close to 20 years. And as testimony resumed, the jury was presented with bank records detailing activity. So I'm waiting for Dan to give me a response on this. Sorry, I keep looking for it. Presented the jury with bank records detailing activity on one of his personal accounts. Specifically, they reviewed the December 2011 bank statements for Diddy, which was tied to his residence in Alpine, New Jersey. The records revealed several notable transactions. December 14, 2011, his account transferred. This one's very interesting, and this one is one of those things where we've talked about this before, but I think this is one of those building blocks for that racketeering, right? They revealed several notable transactions. On December 14th, 2011, Holmes' account transferred $20,000 to Cassie. Okay, this is on December 11th or 14th. 2011. Then on December 23rd of the same year, there was an incoming wire transfer of $20,000 from Broderick Ventura, who is Cassie Ventura's father. Remember, this was one where Diddy said that I was going to release these tapes unless you give me $20,000. And they had to take a mortgage out on their home because of that. Then there was an incoming wire transfer. There was that. And then finally on December 27th, Holmes' account returned the $20,000. And obviously testimony regarding this is of course supposed to or needs to continue. Following the conclusion of the government's questioning, Christy Slavic wrapped up her direct examination of Derek Ferguson. Then Mark Agnifilo began his cross of Ferguson. Mark's Diddy's lead attorney. And basically what they're trying to do is challenge and contextualize the testimony that was presented during direct. So during cross, Derek described how his professional relationship with Diddy evolved after leaving Combs' companies. Ferguson testified that he served as CFO until the end of 2012, then transitioned to Chief Growth Officer for several years. He later became the COO of Revolt Media and TV. Ferguson said that he left his employment with Combs' business in November of 2017. After his departure, Ferguson said that their contact was rare. He noted that they occasionally exchanged messages about odds and ends connected to his departure and sometimes exchanged holiday greetings. The last contact Ferguson received from Combs was on September 16th, 2024. On that date, Combs sent him a text message saying hello and asking him to give him a call. Combs then followed up with another message shortly after saying he was in New York and wanted to know if Ferguson was able to meet, adding that he wanted to talk and get some advice. Ferguson, this was like right around the time everything was going. This was when everything was going on with him and Cassie. He was calling a lot of people then, it seems. He testified that he was on a flight to Charlotte when he received the text and didn't get a chance to respond to the message. He also testified about his early motivation working for Bad Boy Records. He said that he was initially drawn to the company because he believed that it had potential to make a meaningful difference in underserved communities. He said, coming from the Bronx, I felt like we needed more companies that really would hire from the communities I grew up in that would give people opportunities. Then during cross, Agnafilo asked Ferguson general questions about Combs' various business ventures. He inquired about longstanding relationships with Diageo, one of the largest beverage companies in the world, which partnered with Combs to produce and market liquor brands. He also testified that Diddy's primary role in the partnership was to oversee creative direction, while Diego provided the financial backing. Ferguson further stated that tensions sometimes arose between Combs and Diego over how the products were marketed and distributed, which that's kind of a long-standing thing, right? That was a weird text or weird thing that just came up. Sorry, I get breaking news on the things. I don't know what that one is to say it, but I'll have to go back and look at that. Sorry, this one I'm a little. I'm still guys. I apologize. Okay, normally I'm kind of on the ball with these things. I'm a little just I don't know, shaken, disturbed by the first thing that we talked about on here. And so that's kind of got me my whole thing. Like I said, I'm really bad about hiding it or doing that, especially when it's things that I can't compartmentalize. So I apologize for that. Anyways, there were complaints about how the distribution was concentrated in urban areas. Then they furthered the testimony about the new details about the bank statements that that direct examination did about the $20,000 tied back, showing the 20,000 transfer to Cassie, then the account receiving 20,000, and then Diddy sending it back the 20,000. They were talking about that. So, what I will talk about that real quick though, before we go further on that, is that transaction specifically. And there's been a couple things today that really point to this, but that transaction pattern points to potential illegal conduct, right? When you connect that to the earlier testimony we had from Cassie talking about them having to do all of that, now you look back on this and you're doing this as a business under the front of being a legitimate business transaction, right? That's what you're trying to prove it as. It's going through Combs's media. CFO is seeing it. This is all personal, and it's blackmail and extortion, right? Because the $20,000 was so he wouldn't release these tapes on her, allegedly, right? So he takes the $20,000, he sends the $20,000 back, but he does this all blackmailing through the company, through Bad Boy Entertainment. Just like when if you didn't see the earlier recap today, the midday, just like when he made Eddie Garcia, the security guard, sign an NDA and other documents on Bad Boy letterhead, and this was for bribing them to get rid of the video, right? So all of this stuff is kind of bringing that into play. So, anyways, as cross continued, Ferguson testified about what it was like working for Combs. And remember, we've heard a lot of people who are females who worked for him. Now we're going to hear what somebody in this position as a male worked for him. We've heard what's the difference between the male assistants and the female assistants. And we're going to hear the difference between somebody who's an executive in the situation, not just an assistant. So this was about what it was like working with Diddy Puffy in the early years of building his businesses. He said the work was demanding as they were creating companies from the ground up. He recalled long hours and a collaborative environment with many talented people. He said, quote, "We felt that there was a mission to be great, to represent ourselves in a certain way." He described the early staff as a very close-knit group, especially during the initial years. Agnafilo then asked Ferguson what he had learned from Combs. He said, "I did learn a lot from him. He had a great business mind, and I think he put his mind to something and set a really high, aggressive goal and was not afraid of that goal. I think that's something you can learn from that." He also spoke about Combs's relentless drive, saying he just worked constantly. His passion for what he did was really high, so his work ethic and the number of hours he put in was something that really pushed the entire team. Then Brian Steele took over and asked Ferguson a series of pointed questions about whether he had witnessed Combs or anyone else engaging in criminal behavior, and this is how the conversation went. Did you see anyone help Sean Combs commit crimes? No. See anyone commit acts of violence? No. See anyone make the company stronger through threats of violence? No. Did you see anyone enhance Mr. Combs' reputation through emotional, physical, or SA? I did not. Toward the end of cross-examination, Steele posed a more personal question to Ferguson, which was, do you think highly of Mr. Combs? And Ferguson paused for a long moment before responding and said, I don't know how to respond to that. Ferguson had acknowledged earlier in testimony that Combs had a strong work ethic and considerable passion for his businesses, but his hesitancy kind of gives a clear answer about whether he still thinks highly of Combs, as as cross examination did. Because if he did still think highly of him, he would have said that, right? So that's kind of what we have for today. Now, tomorrow we expect Mia to take the stand, and I've not heard back from Dan on this, so I don't think I've had a few people say that he hasn't really been found yet. So I'll try to get a sorry, side note on the first story. I don't know if he's really been found yet. I'll have to do my due diligence on that and see. But today, I think that we've really, we're in week 4, so we're halfway through this trial, right? And I think that we're really kind of starting to see some of these criminal activities that he did under letterhead, under the business. Like some of this wasn't petty cash. And then we also learned that, according to Derek Ferguson, that a lot of times this stuff went through, they would pay artists or managers via cash. And so that was a good way for him to carry around sacks of cash to, pay off these people. And so I think that you're really going to have a lot more come out. I'm very interested to see Jane's testimony. Okay, a lot of people are saying, people in Washington, a couple of people are saying that there's no news yet. He hasn't been located, and Dan hasn't come back and told me that. So I'm going to say that at this point, he has not been located. Hopefully that one guy is found. But that's what we have for tonight, and that's what we have for today. I'll have some updates coming up. There's a few things that I need to do videos on to kind of share with you guys. But again, as always, if you are watching this in the replay, I do always answer questions. If you are watching this on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, anywhere, if you're watching this anywhere, hit that follow button, please. It's something free that you can do. I'm covering this trial extensively. As you can see, I don't ask for y'all to give me gifts. I don't ask for y'all to subscribe. I don't ask for y'all to do anything. It's really just giving y'all the information and having the support of, anybody who doesn't follow already, please, consider doing that, because it's something free that you can do that helps my platform out tremendously. That being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of the evening, and we will be back, of course, tomorrow with more Diddy updates. And yeah, if you missed the midday, it is on YouTube under the Sean Diddy Combs playlist. That said, y'all have a great rest of the night, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.